Wonderful.
Very good.
Well,
Awesome,
awesome.
great. Well, we got a really good topic today, A&M. This is one of those schools that happens to be almost on every single person's list that we work with. It is one of the flagships for the great state of Texas. A lot of people are applying to this school, especially engineering and business. And we have a lot of really great information to cover with you guys and a lot of really great updates too. And so we'll go ahead and just dive right into it. Today, we do want to interact with you guys as much as possible. So definitely make sure that you use the Q&A box. Thomas, I'll go ahead and let you kind of take over from here.
Absolutely. So I'll kind of lead the way how we go. Dale will be watching the Q&A box, but to let you guys know, my name is Thomas Langford. I'm a former Aggie, went to Texas A&M University, and now working with students. Worked with over 1,500 students in the Houston area on the college going process. But the whole time, I have always loved helping kids with A&M, especially. It just has a good place in my heart. And before we dive into all of it, I do want to introduce another member of our team, Bonnie, who's with us today.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Great to be here. Great to see you guys. David, I see you out there in the audience. I want to give you an awesome shout out. But yeah, my name is Bonnie Clefman. I am a consultant here at Access College America, and I'm also a career specialist, also a mom, and also a teacher. So I wear so very many hats, but this is probably one of my favorites. Don't tell my kids, just kidding. But I just wanted to be here to say hello and also let the audience know that I have another webinar coming up if you are fascinated by all these topics. And I know Thomas is going to share a little bit later, but if you are interested, I am going to be talking about award-winning essays on November the 30th. So come on and, come on and learn a little bit more about that essay process. And I really look forward to seeing you all there, okay?
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Bonnie.
Welcome.
Well, all right, everybody. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and we're going to talk a lot about A&M admissions, popular majors, trends with the numbers we're seeing. And as we go, please feel free to use that chat function to ask questions. I don't want you to feel like you have to wait for the very end if you have a question that pertains to maybe the slide that we're looking at. That I like this to be as interactive as possible. And so if anything comes up you'd like to shout out for or, get a little bit more information, that's what the chat box is for. Awesome. We'll go ahead and get going. So as we go, we're going to share a lot of information and numbers and, tips and tricks. So please make sure if you haven't already, either get out a pad and pen, pull up, a Word document on the side so you've got all the information available afterwards. And so here's some of the things we're going to cover. I know in here we'll also have Dale kind of go over most recent trends about, admissions in general. And, Dale is our team lead. He's our captain. He's got all that information on hand, and we can be more thankful for that. So as we go, here's our team, and I'll kind of let Dale, did you want to share a little bit about, most upcoming trends you're seeing?
Sure. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide. I think a lot of people know who I am already. I'm the founder and owner of Access College America. But I think one of the most important things that we want to go ahead and get through is that really college applications are on the rise. And what I mean by this is there's this term called application inflation. And what we mean with application inflation is that colleges and universities are actually receiving more college applications than ever before. And, with that, because colleges and universities are receiving more applications than ever before, those acceptance rates are really on the decline. There's a few reasons why we actually think that colleges and universities are actually receiving more applications than ever before. And one of those is because of social pressure out there. A lot of students today are applying to a lot of colleges because of their friends. They are crowdsourcing their way through this process. Some of the most popular high schools, especially here in Texas, the students at these high schools, Westlake, LASA, I'm looking at you guys, Westwood, You guys are all applying to the exact same colleges, UT, A&M, those big state flagships, Chapel Hill, Clemson, UGA, the list goes on. There's so much social pressure these days to get into these colleges that the most popular colleges in America are becoming more competitive than ever. I think another reason why a lot of colleges are experiencing such an increase in applications is because of marketing. Technology has made it so much easier for students to apply to colleges and universities thanks to platforms like the Common Application, which this year Texas A&M and the University of Texas is on the Common Application. So with a very simple click of a button, you can apply to up to 20 colleges. And these national platforms are making things a lot easier for students to apply to. And one more thing that I want to highlight as a reason why students are applying to more colleges than ever, test optional. We really saw a seismic shift in the landscape of college admissions this past couple of years. You know, the barrier for entry really lowered for students to apply to a lot of universities because they went test optional. Didn't mean it was going to be easier for you to get into, but students really thought that they had an easier or a better chance at getting into some colleges by not submitting their test scores. So the barrier for entry is a lot lower than it ever has been before. High school students are experiencing social pressure like they've never experienced before to get into the most selective, most competitive colleges in America. And all of this is creating this perfect storm in which universities can really skim from the top. And we'll go into some of those stats here in just a moment, but I did want to point out a little bit that these are some of the most recent trends that we're seeing in college admissions today. All right, Thomas, I'll go ahead and let you take it over from here.
Absolutely. So Dale kind of talked about, admissions is getting more difficult at universities as a whole, and A&M is no different at all. And so let's kind of go into that data on the next slide. And can you guys see my screen okay? Is it sharing correctly? Going through? Wonderful. So for Texas A&M University, it is a public land grant tier 1 research institution, which is basically saying they get a lot of money to do a lot of research and they put it to good use. They are one of the top schools in that. So if you have something you want to study, you want to make a big difference in the world, A&M is funneling money towards those types of causes and research. And that's a big part of their, what they do at A&M. And I can talk to you right now about some statistics on the most recent freshman class. So we've got students in here who are, maybe seniors. I know we've got some sophomores and juniors. And so every year these numbers change a bit. And we can look at these numbers and kind of figure out what the trends are. And I can tell you that the numbers, more applications and lower acceptance rate. Over 52,000 people applied to A&M this past application cycle. And of those people, we saw a 3% increase in applicants who are in the top 10% of their class. And as many of you already know, if you're the top 10% of your senior class in high school, you are guaranteed admissions into Texas A&M and many other schools in the state of Texas. The UT being the one where it's top 6, but as this is an A&M presentation, we're not talking about them. So, with A&M increase, it's only more difficult for students to get in. And something to keep in mind as you apply, you're guaranteed admissions into A&M if you're top 10%, but you're not guaranteed your major. So if you're looking at those STEM fields, business, engineering, medical sciences fields, you're probably going to need more than that. You're going to need to make sure you have more to your application to really have a chance at getting into those STEM majors. Now, for the students who weren't in that top 10%, you're going to be holistically reviewed. And we're going to talk about that a bit more in the next slide. But basically, that means they look at every single part of your application. And so you want to make sure you are all strengths and as little weaknesses as you can, that you are doing your test prep, you're working on your writing. So when you submit that application, it is as strong as it can be to get admissions. Now, of the students who did apply, 43% were offered admission to A&M, and they offer admission to students that not only they know are a good academic fit, but they are showing leadership qualities that they're going to be successful on campus. So in that holistic review, A&M is making sure they get a well-rounded student. And part of the process of applying is making sure you got all the information you need. And then one of the things A&M loves to talk about is that retention rate. So for fall 2020 freshmen, even in a COVID year, students wanted to come back. They had the resources to be successful. They had the tutoring, they had, on-campus opportunities to really want to come back. And so A&M is really making sure students have a well-rounded experience. Dale, did you have anything you wanted to hop in on?
Yeah, I guess this is a good time to answer a question that's coming through. A lot of folks are asking about this term holistically reviewed and what does fit to major. I was going to let Bonnie address a little bit of that, but you have just a quick break. But Bonnie, is that something you want to address? What exactly does it mean when Thomas is talking about fit to major and being reviewed holistically?
Yeah, okay. So fit to major is very important. I know Thomas was mentioning just a moment ago about the holistic review process. So long ago, it used to be, your test scores, your rank, your rigor, your grade point average, all of this stuff was kind of the majority of your application. But since they are receiving so many applications and students are indeed not selecting out of applying due to test scores, we have more apps than ever. So one thing that a student can do to really add some edge and some competitiveness to their application is think about fit to major. And that can be kind of two different things. It can be the academic subject matters that the student will participate in high school. If they're going to, for example, be a STEM major, are they taking the highest level of math and science that are available and offered at their high school, the highest level that that student, of course, can succeed in. Also, holistic review can include the action items and things that you do outside of the classroom to demonstrate sincere curiosity into a major or field of study of your choice. So are you joining clubs, organizations, academic honor societies? Are you invited to those? That really, demonstrate your interest in that major. Are you doing summer activities? Are you taking MOOCs or massive open online classes? Maybe doing a series of reading about that topic, maybe as a result of your research or reading, or even your open online classes. Are you creating a project that really demonstrates your interest and proves your knowledge? These kinds of activities that you can participate in outside the classroom really can make a big impact on that college application, because it shows that you're intellectually curious about that topic and that you've already accomplished something within that field of study as is appropriate for a high school student. I'll give you a quick example. One of those would be, I had a student who was interested in data analytics and the kind of in the computer-based world. And so what this young lady was going to do is create an online survey, distribute it to X number of adults and high school students, and then analyze the data and come up with conclusions. And she did this as a result of taking a few open online classes, free classes outside of school, to kind of teach her the basics of how to research and analyze data. And I thought that was a really smart and fun sounding project that she was able to do for no cost, and it really made a big impact on a project. And they don't have to be really square either. These kinds of things you can do, you can do a research paper if you want to, but you can create a product, you can create a project, you can do a vlog about it. So really the sky's the limit in your creativity.
Bonnie, we just had another quick question that
Sure.
came through. I was going to ask you about this particular student is undeclared. They don't know really what they want to study, but they know they want to go to A&M, and they were wondering if business was a good major to apply to. I don't know if you want to maybe address some of the selectivity with business.
Okay, yeah. So is it a good major to apply to? I don't really know if that's a very individual question. And as a career specialist, I would highly encourage you to do lots of career exploration. I know here at Access College, we do utilize U-Science. It's a career aptitude and preference survey, and then we analyze those results and kind of really do deep dive research into careers. But if you think you might be interested in business, I would make sure that you're taking high levels of math and science, that you're one of the top students in your class, and that is it a good major for you? I want to just let you know ahead of time that business majors are highly selective. This is what's called an impacted major. These majors receive more applications than other majors within the school. And so just understand that when you're researching statistics, those numbers-based things like, your test score, your class rank, your academic rigor, your grade point average, your statistics are going to have to be even a little bit higher than the average admitted freshman for that school. So definitely keep that in mind. But especially if you are a junior, a sophomore, or a freshman, I for you to see if that business major is indeed something that you want to do for sure. And you can do that in many ways by taking business related coursework in high school, but also doing some research on your own on careers, or even participating in a job shadow, in informational interviews on people who are involved in areas of the business world that you're interested in. Business is huge. Business can be working in a cubicle, working with numbers all day and analyzing data, or business can be marketing and sales and being out in the community. So there are many different aspects of that business major. So if you can kind of identify what it is you like about that major, that could help you narrow down what it is exactly you want to focus your major in, or maybe even open a door or two to look at alternative majors, which might even interest you more. Just a thought. But that's my career specialist hat. I'm going to take it off now. All right.
Awesome. Yeah, you can't game the system. You actually have to have experience in business. We'll
You do.
let Thomas go ahead and take over.
All righty.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Bonnie. So yes, are so many steps into making sure you're looking at the right major, that you have the right career path in mind. And it is, making sure it is a fit of interest. It is a fit of, is it a job market that is, where you see yourself being, and you have the grades for it. And speaking of the grades, at A&M, understanding what it means to be test option. So you have two tests, the SAT and the ACT. I know probably every student here has heard about them. The main differences being that the SAT is pretty much 50%. The questions are math-based, the calculator and non-calculator portion. The ACT has that science section. And I don't know how many families we've had to ask us, which one should I take? Which one's better for me? And I wish I could give you the answer, but the truth of the matter is, until you take a practice test of each version, you don't know. That's really the only way you're going to get a solid answer on which one you will prefer. And so the students we work with, we highly recommend you do that, whether it's through, the testing program we work with, or more than a teacher, or if you're going some kind of version at home, Khan Academy, or anything like that. What's important is which test is best for you, and you begin to prepare for it. And the families we work with, we build test planning out. So we talk about when is it best to sign up for a test, when to schedule all of them to make sure it fits your schedule and it's the right time to get going. Another thing I want to mention is that beginning fall 2023, the SAT is going to go digital. So that means that the test will be done on a computer. It will be about 2 hours worth of testing instead of 3, which I think for some people that's amazing because it's not as, intensive, but it also is a little bit more pressure. And so it's important for families to recognize that that's coming up and realize, do I want to wait for that because that suits what I'm looking for? Or would I rather take the standard traditional version on paper and get it done prior to fall 2023, if that fits within your timeline of when you plan to apply? And, next point, taking or retaking a test. I say 3 tests maximum. At that point, you're not going to see scores go up too much higher. And, benefits, first couple times, yes, But actually, Dale, what are your thoughts on the SAT and ACT test?
Yeah, this is one of those topics that tend to come up a lot for us. And one of the things that is great about us is that we actually do include test planning and test prep now in our agency. So everybody we work with can get test prep through more than a teacher. It's included in our packages. But you have to understand the science behind taking these exams. And what I mean by that is, you need to understand what is a good score for you. These tests are different from one another. And you need to understand what is a goal that you're wanting to hit for either the SAT or the ACT. You don't want to spend your time taking both of these exams. You want to focus on taking one or the other. And then now you want to set the right date for you to take this exam. Most juniors will take this exam in the spring of their junior year. And the folks that should be taking it in the fall of their junior year, in the summer or the fall of the junior year, are those that are actually hitting the goal that they're wanting to hit. Now we're here talking about Texas A&M. And so one of the questions that came through just a moment ago is, what is a competitive test score for A&M? I want to make sure that you all know where to go to find the stats, really for any university that you're going to be referencing, but we will talk specifically about A&M for right now. One of the things that you can do to find stats on really any school is to look up the Common Data Set, the CDS, the Common Data Set. You can literally Google the name of any university and type in Common Data Set after it. And now you want to go to the most recent statistics released from that school. There's going to be like a 35-page document that the admissions committee has released to the public on who got in and why. And the section that you want to pay careful attention to is section C9. Section C9 is going to give you the freshman profile, basically who got in and why. And so for those of you that have dreams of Aggieland, we know that if you're going to take the SAT to be in the 75th percentile, these are the folks that actually enrolled at A&M in the class of 21. These are stats that were released this year, but these were the seniors from 21. So you have to realize these numbers actually might have gone north a little bit based off the senior class of 22. But to be in the 75th percentile range, 1370, or an ACT composite of a 31. This really should be your goal. Now, I'll tell you something. Most of the families we work with, the scholars are applying to business or engineering programs, which does include computer science. We really specialize on those STEM majors at flagship institutions, and A&M tends to be on everybody's list that we're working with. So is a 1370 or a 31 a competitive test score for the Mays School of Business or the School of Engineering? Probably not. The Mays School of Business might admit around 1,500 students to their entire class. There's not going to be a lot of room for students at the Mays School of Business. So you have to realize the 75th percentile range for the statistics on this chart. This is for, this represents the majors across the entire university. So if you are applying to a STEM-based major, Bonnie was talking about this a little while ago, realize that the standard for admission is actually going to be a little bit more competitive, especially if you're applying to business or anything related to the School of Engineering. So we do recommend that you take a look at the Common Data Set for any university that you are seriously considering, especially A&M, and it's also important to know, and Thomas mentioned a little bit of this, auto admit, 60% of the freshman class is from the top 10% of their high school. So if you are not in the top 10% of your high school class, then you're not going to be getting admitted into Texas A&M based off of your academics alone. You're going to have to bring something else to the table. And this is where that holistic review really does come into play. your activities, your clubs? Are you generating learning experiences? Are you applying to that major with evidence and experience of that fit to major? So really, we have another presentation. I'll kind of take a quick detour. We have another presentation coming up in which we go over a lot of this. If you go to our website and if you click on free college prep events at the very top, and if you scroll down, we have a presentation on UT coming up on the 28th. And then Bonnie's presentation on the essays is on the 30th. But College Planning 101, which Thomas is also going to be the presenter of, is going to be on Thursday, December the 1st. And he will go over the common data set and how to make sure that your list is balanced. So this is just a little bit of a primer of what's going to be coming through, in which he'll show you how to read those reports. Okay, so my detour is over, Thomas, but definitely make sure you take a look at our website and you register for those the free college prep events. They do include in-person events too. We do have some in-person events that'll be coming up. You can meet Thomas on January the 12th at More Than a Teacher in the Austin location. Okay, I'll stop talking now, but I hope that answered some questions.
No, you're so good. Thank you. I appreciate it, Dale. And actually, I'm going to jump in a little bit on that common data set. So here, pro tip, talking about meeting your admissions officer at A&M. And I want to talk a little bit about what that means. At A&M, we know that Aggies love Aggies, and as an Aggie, I can attest to that. And so A&M tells us right away on the common data set, and I'll show it right here, that what is important and what do they look at on an applicant's admission, profile. What have they done? Obviously test scores and talent and a lot of things, but A&M will tell us level of applicant interest. They mark that as something that's considered. So what that means is they check whether or not a student has shown interest in the university. And have you done campus tours? Are you opening up the links they have? They spend a lot of money on data tracking to see, okay, we have sent this scholar an email with links to their major, to upcoming events. Did they go in and click it? Because that is their way of tracking. Is the student genuinely interested? Or are we just another school on their list that they're wanting to get admissions from, but they're really not that interested? Because schools, at the end of the day, they're a business and they want to make their numbers look as good as possible. And so what they're doing is they are making sure that the people who apply will accept an admissions letter if it's given out, because they want that, it doesn't look good to offer admissions and a student doesn't take it. So if A&M is genuinely on your list, you are showing them interest and you are going through the links, you are contacting your admissions officer, all of that.
Yeah, I just want to, sorry to jump in here again. This is a really good part of the report here, the level of applicants' interest. The university is literally telling you, when you apply to our school, we want to see your level of engagement with us. We want to know that you're showing us, some sincere interest, that you are being authentic. And A&M is that's one of the biggest differences between A&M and the University of Texas. University of Texas does not track demonstrated interest. You might add information when you are registering for a tour or something along those lines, but that's really being collected for institutional reporting. They are not looking at your level of engagement. They're not looking to protect their yield rate. They have internal metrics built in where they already know what their yield rate's going to be. Whereas A&M, they are wanting to protect their yield rate. And what the yield rate is, this just means this is out of the number of students that have applied to our university, I apologize, out of the students that we have admitted into our university, this is the percentage of the students that actually accepted our offer. And a lot of competitive universities have actually moved to protecting their yield rates because they are competing with one another. And so it really is so important that folks that are interested in applying to A&M, that you are subscribed to their newsletter, clicking on links, that you are signing up for their virtual events, that you are engaged with your admissions officer. But I also want to be very intentional with this. And what I mean by that is, you're not just doing this to play the game and beat the system. Yes, we know that they're monitoring your level of engagement with them, but you're also doing it a little bit for yourself. You need to make sure that this is the right university for you. You should be doing your due diligence and demonstrating interest with every school that you are sincerely wanting to learn about. So it's not just about collecting points when the admissions officer goes to look at your interaction with them, but it really is to make sure that you are engaged and learning, and think of this as a contact sport also. Okay, I don't know. This is a good question David is asking. I don't know, Thomas, if you know the answer to this, but David is asking, what's the difference between Aggieland Day and Whoopin' Weekend?
Absolutely. That is a wonderful question. And I've pulled up a couple of links while Dale was presenting, and I can kind of go through it. Aggieland Saturday, for those who don't know, a lot of universities host major events throughout the year, and they're recruiting events to bring students to campus. They roll out all the stops, they do tours and seeing services. And Aggieland Saturday is what has been around for a long time, and it's February 11th. And this is an event that when you think of a campus visit, it's more traditional in that sense. This has going through housing, looking at, step-by-step academics buildings, and, getting a taste of what campus could be like if you visit it. It is a one-day event. And I'm going to say, to answer the question up front, the main difference is the length of the program and the amount of information. Aggieland Saturday is a one-day event. It is Saturday, February 11th this coming year. Now, Whoopin' Weekend, and for those who don't know, Whoop, that is an A&M term. Aggie's got a lot of them, so you're going to have to get used to it if you end up enrolling, but it's a lot of fun. You whoop for all the good things in life. And here we go. This is the website. It breaks it down, kind of what it looks like. It is a 3-day event that a student has to register for, and it's only for high school juniors and seniors. So it's a little bit more selective on who can attend. And it's basically Aggieland Saturday with a big deep dive on recruiting, on admissions and financial aid and all that kind of stuff. Dale, what do you think about that?
How did you get to this page? How does a family know how to even register for something like this? When should families start engaging or connecting with A&M? How do you find these events?
Absolutely, that is a great question. So if you know the name of the event you're looking for, you can do what I did, and I will show you right here. I Googled it, TAMU Day, TAMU Whoopin' Weekend. But what if you don't know about the event? I recommend what you do to learn a little bit more. In that junior year, when you really start, probably spring semester, when you start focusing on where your interests lie, we always recommend students get in touch with their recruiting admissions officer or regional advisor. And I have a tab here that I can show you. Every university does something like this. A&M lays it out in a very nice way. Again, I like to Google. I searched Texas A&M regional recruiter, and this link popped up. So what it is no matter where your student goes to high school, they have an advisor assigned to that school district, to that high school. And so for any Houston families in here, if I were to click Houston, it's going to open up and give me a list of advising staff. And they're assigned to each high school in the area, and you'll be able to find that information. Now, these are the people who are more than likely going to be doing the first read of your application. So obviously you think about it, all right, I'm applying to A&M. If I can find out exactly who's reading my application first, I want to build a connection. So if a student tells me, hey, Thomas, I am going to Cypress Springs High School in Cypress, Texas. So I would say, all right, there is Yara, the senior regional advisor. I want you to reach out to her, either a phone call or an email, and say, hey, my name is Phil and I want to go to A&M and I want to do this major. You start to build a relationship, a connection that, that's a part of life. It's getting to know people, networking, and this is a good first step into that.
Awesome. Anything else? I wanted to kind of build on this. Is that all you wanted to say about this particular screen?
Yes, yeah, I will let you take over. You want me to keep it on on the screen, or I'll pass it to you.
So another really great, so this is excellent because you need to understand who is going to be reading your actual college application at A&M and making sure that you know how to identify that actual admissions officer. Another way that you can do this, if you don't know how to find your admissions officer at Texas A&M, you can just literally take the name of the university and then Google Texas A&M campus visit. Now, every single college will have this. You know, they'll have a whole page dedicated to those in-person visits. And so admissions is really good about updating their website with those in-person visits. But before you go and visit A&M, one thing that we have on our website under the free guides page is a college visit worksheet. So when you do go to Aggieland Saturday or Whoopin' Weekend, take this free downloadable college visit worksheet form with you and make sure that you update it with all of your information, you know, the name of your admissions officer, their contact information, so you know to look out for them, or at least let them know that you're coming to town, the tour date. You can go ahead and identify the stats for the university like A&M before you even go, so you can start identifying, is this school a safety, target, reach, or an extreme reach? And then make sure that you take your pre-tour documents with you and do some research in advance. You know, learn about the student body, learn about the academics. So this is a free college visit worksheet. It is on our website under free guides at the very top, and make sure that you start looking up the activities and the events that are happening at A&M so that you can definitely plan accordingly. And as Thomas already demonstrated, make sure that you connect with your actual admissions officer when you do go and visit the university, or you can even schedule this online. A lot of times, you know, folks will ask us, what do I ask my admissions officer? Don't ask them anything that you can find out online. You might only have 1 or 2 questions with them. And the last thing you want to do is say, can you tell us about computer science? Or can you tell us what a good SAT score is? You know, this is all publicly released information. Spend time on the website for A&M before you go. You know, this is, as I mentioned before, you know, most of the families that we work with are applying to, you know, business or engineering. And so it really does, you really should Google whatever department it is that you're interested in learning about, and spend time reading about that undergrad degree. You know, learn about the accounting degree, learn about the finance program, request information, get on the newsletter. This is where you're demonstrating interest, folks. And when you do go and visit Texas A&M, hopefully you have learned all about their marketing department, and you can also take a look at their student profiles. There's a lot of information here that you can do even before you go and visit Texas A&M, so that you can actually really truly do a deep dive. So just to recap again, you know, as Thomas said, identify who your admissions officer is. You can also Google A&M campus visit. You should do a deep dive on the department that you're wanting to learn about, especially if it's business or engineering. Take that college visit worksheet with you, complete this, file this, store this somewhere so that when you're working on your college applications, you have a lot of your research done. That was a really good question. We had a question that just came through, Thomas, actually for you. At the very beginning of the presentation, you mentioned you've worked with over 1,500 students in Houston. Are you based in Houston? I guess they think you're in Houston.
That is a great question. So the answer is thankfully no. What it is I am in the Austin area, and we have in-person events and, you know, around the Austin area that I will always be at when we have. But the way we work with our students is it's on Zoom, it's virtual. So while I'm in the Austin area and I've worked in Houston, I've gone to graduate school up in Fort Worth, I've been all around the state. I have, you know, I'm able to meet with students anywhere because we're on Zoom, and that's the beauty of this newfound ability to hop on a Zoom call and meet with anybody and share presentations, share data. And so that is not a worry. I can meet with any student anytime.
This family, because you graduated from A&M, they're wanting to know about what was one of your favorite traditions at A&M as an alumni.
That is a great question. So the funny thing, little A&M tradition for anyone out there if there are any diehard Aggies in here, we Aggies like to say former student instead of alumni, and we got a lot of tiny things.
Oops,
So
I messed up on that.
You're so good. There's too many traditions for even Aggie to remember, much less a Longhorn. So at A&M, my favorite tradition was probably, the Aggie ring. I have mine right here. It is my favorite item I own. An Aggie ring is it's a gold ring that you get after completing 90 credit hours. That is typically about 3/4 of the way done with your college career. And it symbolizes your hard work. It, means a lot to the university. I want to say when I was at A&M, about 95% of the student body gets their class ring, whereas the typical university in the state, it's anywhere from 20 to 50% of graduating students get their class ring. A&M, the ring means a lot. I have been on study abroads in Germany on a hike on a mountain, and a family saw my ring and they asked all these questions. I made connections with them. We sat and got lunch, and they were complete strangers. But because we were both part of the Aggie family, then, we built that connection and that bond. And there's all these stories of people getting, interviews at companies because they recognized each other's Aggie rings. And it's just a way to connect and make a campus of 60,000 feel a lot smaller when you get to go out into the world and find an Aggie every now and then, just because you see that ring on their hand.
Awesome. I know that you have a slide on engineering, but I do want to make sure before we run out of time that we do touch on rolling admissions. A&M is one of those schools where timing is important, and we have a parent asking, what is rolling admissions, and is it true that they need to submit their application sooner than later for A&M?
Absolutely. That is a great question. So with all universities, they will have certain types of admissions. There is the standard admission that you think of, all right, deadline is December 1st. We just got to get our application in. And if, we get it in earlier or later, we're still going to hear at the same time. A&M has something called rolling admissions. So while the A&M deadline is December 1st, you can submit it, beginning of senior year. And what that does for you is you're going to get an answer back a bit faster. It is, the acceptance rate, we can't know for sure the numbers, but what we do know is an admissions officer who is making the decisions, they're handing out the yeses and the nos. They have a finite number of seats to hand out for each major for the whole class. And it is much easier to get a yes, when you're one of the first people to submit that application, because it's not like they have a couple hundred kids still fighting for one seat. You're right there at the very beginning. So we always recommend the sooner you get it in, the better, because it's just life is a lot easier that way. You don't have to stress so much senior year, but it gives you a little bit of a boost because there aren't as many seats to fight over at that point.
Exactly. And that's a really good point. A&M, because it does have rolling admissions, we really recommend that you get that application submitted by September the 1st. September the 1st, you want to go into your senior year with the application for A&M behind you. You want to be part of that momentum in which the admissions officer opens things up. They see they've got a full incoming class to fill, and they start reviewing those applications and assigning seats. The longer you wait to apply for a school like A&M, the harder it's going to be to get in because there's less seats available. So just to kind of explain to you a little bit about how do you get that college application submitted by September the 1st? Because that's very ambitious, right? Right. Well, here's how. First of all, there's a few staples when it comes to applying to A&M that we already know you're going to have to do. You don't have to wait until August the 1st to get started on your application for Texas A&M. So we recommend, as a rising senior, that June, going into your senior year, get your main essay finished. That main essay is 650 words that every single university is going to read. And because Texas A&M is on the Common Application, the Common Application traditionally releases their prompts in the month of March and April. April. So in theory, you can really start preparing for your main essay in March or April of the junior year, but in June, you want to have the main essay finished. Second, you want to also have your common application activity list also done in the month of June. We know that you're going to apply to A&M. There's two things that you're going to have to submit: the common application activity list and also that main essay. And that activity list, it's the replacement for a resume. It's like a digital resume. It's 10 things that you've done related to the major that you're applying to. Keep this in mind. You're not applying to Texas A&M. You're picking a major, and your application will be filtered through the lens of that major. So you want to highlight your experience in that activity list. So the month of June is a big month for you because you get your main essay finished and also your activity list. July, you can kind of start prepping for the short answer questions. You have two types of writing that you'll need to do. You'll have your main essay, which is going to be focusing on self-reflection and discovery. If you want a writing prep, go to Bonnie's award-winning essays webinar. It's going to be coming up. It's amazing. She'll go into all of the different types of writing. And then you'll have short answer questions. And your approach for the short answer questions is different than your approach for the main essay. The short answer questions will be based off of the research that you have collected about Texas A&M. So in the month of July, you can kind of start doing a little bit of drafting. You know, look at the questions that they asked the last couple of years. Be prepared to talk about a leadership experience. If you're interested in applying to engineering, be prepared to talk about why you want to go into the engineering school. Be prepared to write about why you're applying to Texas A&M. Somewhere in your short answer questions, you should be talking about Texas A&M. As Thomas mentioned at the beginning, Aggies love Aggies, and they want to know that you bleed maroon, that you really want to be an Aggie. So in your short answer questions, you really want to make sure that you are referencing really awesome traditions, faculty, learning experiences, labs, and facilities you're not going to get anywhere else. So if you can start doing the drafting on this type of short answer question prompt in the month of July, guess what? August the 1st, your applications are going to go live. The rest of August, you're just putting the finishing touches on your college application to A&M, which means you will be able to get your college application submitted to A&M by September the 1st. That is the best approach. Your application is on top of the stack. That's where all the seats are at. And then if you're applying to other colleges, now you can pivot from September the 1st to November the 1st and focus on scholarship essays and also honor college essays as well. I just want to let you all know, though, when you apply to A&M, what we have noticed is that the prompts for scholarships are embedded inside the common application. So you want to make sure that you can get the college application completed, all of the drafting, all of the editing, all of the writing, get that done outside of the common application so that it frees up time for you to work on your scholarship essays. So that when you apply to A&M, realize you're covering both bases. Your application for admissions must be submitted with the application for your scholarships. If you don't budget your time wisely, you can very well submit your application for admissions without your application for scholarships. And I know, well, I would say 100% of the families we work with absolutely are wanting to apply for scholarships. So get everything out of the way so that you have the bandwidth to also focus and pivot on scholarship opportunities also. Okay, we're going to be wrapping up in about 5 minutes. So Thomas, I'm going to go ahead and let you take over with the rest of the slides.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And really quick to follow up with Dale talking about financial aid and the freshman scholarships. For all the families out there, the way it works is you submit your college applications, and for the majority of schools, there is a separate scholarship application. And for A&M, it is within the Common App. But what I want you to know is everyone wants financial aid. You want those scholarships above all else. And then there are grants and loans. That's from the FAFSA application, which October 1st of your senior year is when you're going to fill that out. but the majority of scholarships handed out by a university is for those incoming freshmen. Because like I said earlier, it's a business and they're recruiting. And if you're a college junior, they don't need to give you a lot of scholarships to, recruit you because you're already there. So know that your most power in this process is as that high school student applying to schools, that you want to do your best job on those scholarship applications because that's where the money's going to come in. So make sure you set aside time to do that. Now, to take a quick step back, Dale did a great job kind of talking about short answer questions and, the writing process. With A&M, you can see right now, the students we're working with who or have already finished their A&M applications, these are the short answer questions they had to them, 250 words each. And, first one, describe a life event which you feel has prepared you to be successful in college. Dale talked about that this process, the short answer questions, this is where you get to show your research, how much you have learned in your process of applying, what is it about the school that you like? This isn't a time to Google Texas A&M engineering and share information that you read on the first page you found, that you don't want to skim the readily available information. You want to do a deep dive. Talk about, a summer coding class you did and what you learned from it, and that you've researched and found that there's a professor at A&M who's, one of their major projects they've worked on is related to something you learned, and that you have these skills and abilities that are going to allow you to do great things in life. And A&M is that last piece to your puzzle to go and do great things. You don't want to talk about how great A&M is the entire time in your essays because they know they're great. That's why you're applying, and it's why they get to, set the admissions rate at what they are. This is your chance to brag, to talk about what kind of a person you are and how you're going to change the world. So this is your chance to do that. And in that second question, about a person who's impacted you, this, I will say, the common mistake I see with this short answer question is students using this space to talk about how great somebody else is, and only that. That person isn't the one applying to A&M. So you need to talk about how he or she impacted you and how you grew, how you developed, and how you are going to take what you've learned or experienced and, carry the baton to the finish line based off of what you grew from that impactful person in your life. Lastly, this is a question about how COVID may have affected you either in your academics, your, involvement, anything like that. This is, though, a question that I believe we're going to see phased out pretty soon, just because we're now a couple of years removed from that.
Absolutely, and it's optional too. One thing I want to touch on with question 1 and 2, again, this is an opportunity for you to layer your application. And what I mean by that is the examples that you're using, the person that you're referencing in number 2, try to make sure that this all is relatable to your first choice major, that major
Absolutely.
you're applying to. So for example, tell us about the person who most impacted your life. If you're applying to business, by the way, don't use Elon Musk or Jeff, Bezos. Those are probably two of the most popular people in business among them. And it's okay to pick somebody who you actually don't know or who they don't know. You don't have to pick somebody in mainstream media. But again, they're wanting to get an idea of what is really interesting to you, what has influenced you over the years. And they're filtering your application through the lens of that major. So highlighting experiences, layering opportunities that you've experienced that provide additional evidence and intellectual curiosities will be key. You want to go to the next slide?
Absolutely, yeah. Just got a couple more for you guys.
So there's this engineering prompt right here also where they're wanting to know all about, again, who has influenced you inside or outside the classroom. And same thing again, this is where you'll be able to reference a research opportunity, internship. Maybe you don't have either of these, but there was a really great class that you took. And one of the chapters in that class really resonated with you. And it really inspired and sparked, motivation to want to learn more and develop possibly a home-based research project. We do a lot of these with the families that we're working with, home-based research projects, so that you have something to document and demonstrate in your applications. So be prepared for a prompt that will specifically ask you why you want to go into engineering. And this is a very, very common prompt for a lot of STEM majors or engineering majors. And there's 3 prompts that we've just identified. The 4th one on COVID is truly optional. But I want to make sure when you are talking about engineering, you really are referencing or highlighting something that is unique to Texas A&M. The Aggie getting into the School of Engineering is going to be getting several offers from many colleges and universities. They know that. And so you need to signal some way that A&M is the #1 school on your list by talking about a really great learning experience at A&M, a tool or a technology that you're not going to be able to get anywhere else, so that the admissions officer really does see you're authentic about going to A&M.
Absolutely.
We'll go to the next slide before we wrap it up. So we've already talked a little bit about these deadlines, but we don't recommend waiting until deadline day to submit those college applications. For A&M specifically, because it does have rolling admissions, you want to get that application submitted by September the 1st. September the 1st, especially if you're applying to the May School of Business or the School of Engineering. You want to be part of that momentum when the admissions officer opens up those applications and they start saying admit. Next. So we do have a lot of events coming up, and if you have not already followed us on social media, definitely do it. We are going to be doing some giveaways, so make sure that you follow us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram. We're on all the major platforms right here. And I actually just did a Facebook Live the other day. So if you haven't already added us, make sure that you do add us, because we'll be doing giveaways, and we keep these pages updated with events, reminders, and all that good stuff. So let's definitely stay engaged.
Absolutely.
And next, and coming up, we do have applying to the University of Texas coming up on Monday, November the 28th. Thanks for that little detail up there, Thomas. I appreciate that. And that's where, hey, maybe you bleed maroon some days, and the days you're burnt orange. That's a tough decision to make. We will be discussing all about what it takes to be a Longhorn. The A&M and the University of Texas are 2 universities we are very, very experienced with. It's on almost every single person's list that we work with. And we start working with incoming freshmen because these 2 universities, it's a 4-year campaign. The clock starts ticking that incoming freshman year. Everything is fair game in the high stakes world of college admissions for UT and A&M, starting with the incoming freshman year. That GPA, the class rank, it's not just the GPA and the class rank from the junior year. It's all 4 years. Your summers, how you spent them, it's not just about what you did as a rising senior. It's about what you did as a rising freshman and on. So we really do map out the 4-year game plan with that UT one. And we do have labs coming up for families that are working with us as well. I will just quickly show you this before you wrap it up. Something that I was going to show you guys is, if you go to our website at the very top, if you are interested in learning more about our services, you can click on schedule session at the very top. You can scroll down to right here, the 30-minute consultation request. And you can schedule time with me for a 30-minute consultation. And then I'll go over our services and our pricing. And a lot of families, probably, I might be the very first person that you've ever heard of as a college consultant. And so think of us as your navigator. Our #1 job is to help you highlight your strengths and tell your story to colleges and universities. We work with incoming freshmen on academic planning, career exploration, activity building, summer planning, essays. We have test prep now. We work with you to create that balanced college list of 6 to 8 schools that you're going to apply to. Everybody we work with, not just those applying to A&M, everybody we work with gets their college application submitted by September the 1st. And then we focus on scholarships and honors essays in the fall of the senior year. We're one of the only agencies that has that ambitious of a curriculum. So definitely invite you to learn more about our services. Thomas, anything that you wanted to add?
Other than, all I can say left is I'm so thankful you guys were here to hear us talk about, one of the top universities in the state of Texas and a school that is very near and dear to my heart. And, as much as I love A&M, every family I work with, my joy is helping a student find their path and understanding what is best for them. So that is big level of research and looking at universities and different opportunities. So any family I work with, we're going to get you set up in the best possible scenario. Fingers crossed A&M's on the list because I'd love to talk to you about it, but no school is off the limits.
Awesome. All right. Thumbs up. I can do a thumbs up to that too. All right. Y'all
Giggle.
have a wonderful day and giggle. Bye-bye.
Bye.